Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, April 24th to Saturday, April 30th. So let's talk about last week before we dive into the absolute energetic craziness that is coming at us this week. Last week, we entered into Taurus season. This was a dramatic shift for everyone. We talked about it in the forecasts last week, that coming out of that fiery energy of Aries and jumping into that earthy energy of Taurus was like hitting a brick wall, like jumping out of a plane without that parachute opening. And of course, we went splat on the earth. And for many of us, we seen a lot of time on the couch, in the bed, resting our physical forms, resting our physical bodies. And we're going to talk about that in conjunction with all of the solar flares, all of the solar activity that popped off. We had approximately 20 solar flares take place over the course of the week. Many of them grouped together within, a 2 to 3 day span, which absolutely coincided with the Taurus energy. And that was a lot. We're going to talk about the physical symptoms of that here in a second when we dive into the Ascension symptoms, because of course they're energetically activated and we had a lot of clearing out, cleaning up to do. But we still have to talk about the other aspect that we, of course, are still encountering, because if you're listening to me Friday evening on the 22nd, it hasn't happened yet. We have the last quarter moon in Aquarius taking place early morning on the 23rd. This is the, let's call it, last crisis point of the lunar cycle. If you are a Moon Guide subscriber, you should be following along with the stage of manifesting in correlation to the moon phase, the lunar phase. And of course, this month's lunar phase is ending in preparation for the new one to begin. We will talk about that because that energy is already building as well. We also want to talk about the fact that on the 22nd, in the here and now, as you're listening to this, we are celebrating Earth Day. Earth Day, of course, Mother Earth, Gaia herself. On the 4th month, the 22nd day of 2022 equals a number 5 vibration. What do we know about the number 5 vibration? It is the heart chakra. It is the heart space. It is the true, raw, authentic alignment with our higher selves, with our soul selves. Now, Earth Day, we have to recognize that the Earth pulse that creates the Schumann Resonance roughly was always around that 7.85 Hertz factor. Since then, we've been pushing the boundaries, raising that vibration frequency up. We've been really raising that baseline up. That's why we're having all of these energetic symptoms. That is a byproduct, of course, of the Great Awakening that began back in 2019, technically back in 2012, but we won't get into that ramble here today. And we just have to understand that today is a earthly type of energy, adding to the heaviness, the weight that not only we're feeling in our physical bodies, in our physical realms, but on our heart space as well. So, before we kind of dive into all of the Ascension symptoms that we've been feeling, that we will continue to feel, let's talk about why they're happening. And we can do that by looking at the astrology events for the week. Now, coming into this weekend, we are aligning with the Lyra star system. We are about to have a meteor shower. Typically speaking, we can always count on this alignment, typically from the 16th to the 25th of April, and it peaks on the 22nd. Funny how that all happens, how it all connects, how it's all piecing together. So we're coming into this weekend hot. We're coming in. We've spent a couple of days on the couch. Many of us only got a couple of hours of reprieve. We might be heavily affected by this particular meteor shower as well, because again, it's cosmic energy coming in. I am going to throw a picture of some of the ascension well, I guess not the ascension symptoms, the reason for the ascension symptoms, which is the Schumann resonance. I'm going to throw a couple of pictures up for you if you want to take a look at your screen. We notice a lot of green taking place, and green is where we purge, where we release. What are we purging and releasing? Well, we're purging and releasing the heavy weighted emotions stuck in our cellular memory, trapped in our physical bodies, trapped in our physical forms. Why? Because we need new space for the new light codes to actually get rooted in, which are coming in hot. With all these solar flares, all these CMEs, all of these solar plasmas popping off the sun, and of course now going into meteor shower weekend, this is where we receive new insights, new light codes from the higher cosmos. And of course, many of us still junked up with emotions, with memories, with thoughts that are not of our highest potential, not in alignment with our future path. We got to get rid of them. That's why many of us have been feeling like hell, feeling like death, feeling like you are 500 pounds trying to run underwater. That is definitely one of the most significant feelings that I've had through this past week, and we'll likely see that continue off and on. So let's talk about it. This week, we have some major astrology taking place, and then we actually have a list of notable mentions that I'm going to get into. Let me tell you, if you haven't listened to the April energy forecast that I put out, please go back and do so. Even if you have listened to the earlier astro forecast, take another listen, see how it lines up. We have some very significant, we actually have 3 significant events still left to take place here in the last week of April that are totally going to rock us and set us up for what May is scheduled to bring. So what do we got going on? Well, first of all, this is the last week of April. April brought us the life lessons of number 4. What does lesson number 4 teach us? It teaches us about foundations, about boundaries, about our safety, our security within ourselves. Of course, April brought us into Aries season, where the brand new astrological calendar unfolded, where we kind of got our spark back, where we got our life force energy back, many of us not knowing what to do with that. Of course, April brought us Taurus season that we are just fresh into, that we're still adjusting to. And the Tauran energy is going to help us build the foundations, the boundaries that we need in order to protect ourselves. What are we protecting ourselves from? Well, first of all, low-ass frequencies, right? Negative, dark-ass people. Secondly, timelines, storylines that are not pushing us forward, not pushing our soul into the evolutionary state that we are here to progress through. That's why we like astrology. Astrology is the evolution of our soul. It shows us what we have to embody, qualities and characteristics that we have to embody. And it shows us where it is that we have to tackle the shadow self. Each energy, each season has pros and cons. It gives us a perfect roadmap for our soul's evolution. And wrapping up the life lesson of 4 was definitely more connected to our home and our family area as well. Many of us, of course, losing people, losing relationships, losing money, losing worth and value and hope within ourselves, within our future, within our destiny. Well, that is the dark force agenda's plan for it. And of course, we have to continue singing "This Little Light of Mine, I'm going to let it shine." Regardless of the storm that is waging outside in our external world, we have to do everything we can to protect that light within us. It has to stay lit. It has to be shining bright. But many of us being put in very, very uncomfortable situations in our personal relationships and our family dynamics where people are trying to blow that light out, snuff it out altogether. Many of us learning the hard way that we have to stop dimming our light for these people that we, for some reason, have given too much power to and allowed to take a starring role in the movie, which is us, when they should have only been a co-star, if anything. And that is a tough love life lesson that many of us are going through right now. That brings us the lesson of 4. We are wrapping up the lesson of 4 this week. We have some very powerful aspects that are just going to drive this point home. What are we talking about? Pluto, the great transformer himself, is going to go retrograde on the 29th. This initiates retrograde season. Pluto, of course, the god of the underworld, mind you, likes to show us the pain, the torture, the suffering, the trauma, not to paralyze us, not to put us in a state of victimhood, but to act as the catalyst, to act as inspiration and motivation for us to get our shit together, to step up into our place of power, to take our role of authority and boss up, make something in spite of all the hardships that have been thrown at us. That is the whole point. That is the whole strategy. But Pluto going retrograde means that we got to go inward. This is an inside job. Now, let me just say very vaguely, okay, very loosely, shall I say, that typically speaking, when we enter into retrograde season, the push, the aggravation, the destruction, the damage in our external realm tends to slow down just a tad, because we have to move inward and actually recalibrate, realign our inner power, our inner strength, our inner authority for us to boss up, take control over our inner realm. The lesson here, okay, let me just say this again. The lesson here is regardless of the storm that beats upon your house, that you internally in your inner realm are not swayed by whatever is going on around you. Now that's hard. That is a hard lesson, but we got this light within us that we can't be dimming. We can't let get blown out by the winds, by the storm that are constantly beating at us. And Pluto's 5-month retrograde, taking us into October, is going to teach us through hardship, through struggle, through surrendering, what it is that we got to do to boss up internally so that we are no longer swayed by our external realms. You know, Pluto entered into Capricorn back in 2008, really putting the pressure on the collective, seeing the old systems, old foundations, old paradigms collapse. That's why we're going through this. And individually speaking, the Capricorn energy rules over our power, our authority, our karma, our careers, our finances, the relationship to the masculine energy, control, power, authority. And many of us, especially over the last little bit of just having this absolute circus and shit show of a external realm just beat us down, what many of us fail to realize is that we have power, we have control all the time. But it's only over our inner realm. You will never, ever have control over the elements outside of you in your external realm. But as long as you're solid in your inner realm, it doesn't matter what's going on in the outside of you. So Pluto is definitely going to drive this home. And of course, anytime that we are having this pivotal cusp between, you know, we've had all planets direct in April. That's why April was super special in this way with all of these positive aspects, although many of us don't realize that they've been positive aspects because they've felt awful. But we're on this cusp now where we're moving out of this direct energy, and one by one, these major heavy hitting planets are going to be going retrograde, and we're really going to have to retreat in order to do the inner work necessary. Now, to make matters even more complicated, we have Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, and how it is that we basically understand our world, ourselves, and express it thoroughly, confidently, with clarity to other people. We have Mercury moving into Gemini, its place of power, on the same day that Pluto goes retrograde. Let me just tell you, this is not going to be a good time in the mental plane. Let me just put a disclosure out. This week is going to be a tough week for our mental health. Reason being, we have a lot of positive aspects taking place that are enlightening us, pushing us to the next level of our awareness, which means that those darker force energies come out to play, and it is going to be attack on the mind space. Just remember, Pluto's trying to show us that it doesn't matter what's going on in our external realm as long as we're solid, we're straight on our inner realm. Mercury moving into Gemini, putting a lot of pressure on the mental plane. Pluto going retrograde is going to bring out all this darkness, all this pain, all this suffering. Again, not to paralyze you, not to scare you, not to keep you in a state of trauma, but for you to rise above it. For you to understand this has been divinely scripted by your higher self to push you into a state of evolvement of your soul's purpose, of your soul's potential. But here's the thing. Mercury in Gemini, bouncing around, right? Can't keep a thought, can't keep things straight. We got a million tabs open. Mercury actually enters into the pre-shadow period of the retrograde that Mercury will be going into on May 10th. On the 26th. So, on Tuesday this week, we're going to feel our mental plane shift gears, kind of slow down a little bit, really creating a little bit more confusion. Now, many people will say, well, damn, we've been confused for months. When are we going to gain some clarity? Well, that clarity comes from the state of confusion that we're in. That's how we sort things out. Many of us are not, I'm going to say, consciously intellectually aware enough to make the right decisions for ourselves while in a state of safety, security, and comfort. And therefore, we have to be put in a situation where we don't feel safe. We really do not feel stable at all. We definitely don't feel secure. We don't feel sure about anything. That's when people change. That's when the clarity comes. That's when the aha moments come. And unfortunately, the majority of humans here on Earth at this time need to be put in an uncomfortable position in order to actually make that transformation, make that change. So yeah, Pluto goes retrograde. Mercury moves into Gemini, also slowing down in its pre-shadow period. And what are we building to? What are we building to? Well, on the very last day of April, that of course is going to bring an intensity anyways, because we're wrapping up those life lessons. On the 30th, of course, we're still very much in an adjustment period of Pluto having gone retrograde the day before, Mercury moving into its place of power in Gemini the day before. But what do we have on the 30th? Well, my friends, we have the new moon solar eclipse taking place in Taurus. So why is this important? Well, we are entering into eclipse season, quote unquote, what I like to call when Jesus takes the wheel. Okay. Why do I say that? Well, because we are at the mercy of the universe's divine script, divine plan. We tend to lose a little bit of control. Why? Because we had a very, very, very large amount of time to take control, and many of us have failed to do that. We had an opportunity to clean our lives up, to make the changes and transformations that we knew we needed to make, that we failed to make. And therefore, the universe has to step in eclipse season in order to clean up karmically the mess that many of us just stuck our head in the sand about, just distracted ourselves about, made excuses about. And now the eclipse season is here to put things right, to put things straight. Now, let me just, disclaimer here, let me just say, solar eclipses tend to gift us with something. New things happen. We get blessed with something. New elements arise for us to work with. Lunar eclipses tend to take something away, tend to remove us with something. But don't let that analogy fool you, because sometimes being gifted with something doesn't feel good. Okay, having something added to your life that you weren't planning for, that you weren't expecting, whether it be good, bad, or otherwise, it's all written by your divine self. So we have to understand that it's all part of the plan, but it might not be delivered in this very beautifully wrapped package with bows and sparkles and all this jazz. Okay. Now, the new moon is bringing something forth. It's in Taurus energy. We have the true nodes of the moon working with us until 2023 on the Taurus and Scorpio axis. This is a give and take situation. What are we giving away? What are we releasing? What are we purging? The shadow parts of ourselves, Scorpio energy. What are we bringing in? What are we taking? Well, we're taking the opportunity to build new foundations, new systems, new routines, new relationships, new worth and value within ourselves. There is a foundational crisis going on since the awakening happened, trying to wake you up to the life that your egoic avatar built that is no longer in support or encouragement of you reaching your highest self potential. Our soul needs to take over, and the eclipse energy is very much the universe saying, okay, you're having a little bit of problem trying to decipher the ego from the soul, are you? Let me show you what it is that you should have been doing for yourself. Let me show you what it is that you should have already added to your life. Let me show you where it is that you should have done the work to boss yourself up, to have a new level of self-confidence and self-esteem in order for you to start aligning and attracting with like-minded people. Instead, many relationships, as of right now, you got one woke person, one asleep person, one person trying to live in spirit and soul, one person living in ego. You got one bridging the gap between the 3D to the 5D. You got the other very comfortable sitting in the 3D realm. One lives in love, one lives in hate. One lives in unity, one lives in division. So let me ask you, what do you think is going to happen to these relationships as we move through eclipse season? Let me tell you, because this is Taurus energy, very representative of relationships. First of all, the relationship with ourselves. The second being with other people, because our relationship with ourselves dictates the relationships that we have with other people. This is going to clean out the karmic contracts that you might be refusing to let go of. The ego sits in attachment. We are afraid to give up what we know we should give up. We don't even particularly like this person, have love for this person, but it's all we know. We've integrated them so much in our life, so much in our egoic identity. We don't know who we would be without them. Well, guess what? I hate to tell you, but you are about to get a very tough love life lesson. Where relationships are concerned, where attachment is concerned, because this eclipse season, and especially, while we're on this Taurus and Scorpio axis, we will be cleansed, purged, released of any lower vibrational frequencies that we are holding in our body, in our heart, in our head, that is blocking our self-worth, our self-value, our self-esteem, our self-confidence, that is essentially attracting these not so good people for us, to us, where our ego that likes to sit in what is old, tried, tested, true, uncomfortable, but familiar, likes to keep us held down. This is a state of paralysis that many of us find ourselves in, especially if you've been newly awakened. There's this want, need, and desire to hold on to anything that actually makes sense, because the awakening process does not make sense. That's where you have to learn to trust your intuition, your higher self, the divine cosmos, the divine plan. But of course, none of that is tangible. It requires hope and faith, belief. And many of us, especially the newly awakened individuals, have no clue what that even entails. Therefore, wants to hold on to anything in this physical realm, in these physical circumstances that make them recognize a certain version of themselves, not realizing that that version of themselves is dead. That's why we go through a dark night of the soul. That ego part, that shadow part is dead. When you awaken, your egoic avatar is essentially beginning its death in order for your soul self to awaken, to take over, to lead you on the path that is going to bring you to your fullest form, your highest potential, your soul's mission, your soul's purpose. Now, let's take a moment to complain, to whine for just a second. Because you know what? It is hard. It is tough. It does suck. It isn't fair. But guess what? This moment is over because you wrote this for yourself. You wrote this plan. Okay? We all sat down in a huge ass conference room before we all got in our meat suits to come down here in the classroom that is life. And we all agreed, I'm going to play this part. I need you to play the villain. I'm going to play this part. I need you to play the caretaker. I need you to meet me at this particular point in your life in order to validate for me that I'm on the right path. I need you to meet me in this particular role, in this particular aspect, so that you can teach me how to love myself. How are you going to do that? You're going to treat me like crap. Okay? We sit down. This is a great play that we are playing out here on this physical earth, this physical realm. We've all designed our scripts to basically provide us with an opportunity to reach our highest soul's expression. That's why we're here. That's why we come here. That's why we're doing this. That's why we run into the people that we run into. That's why our greatest enemies are actually our greatest teachers, because we've all signed up to play a certain role. You play the hero and the villain in multiple roles in your relationship dynamics throughout your life. You are the bad guy in somebody's story just as you are the hero. This is what we have to understand, especially when you find yourself whiny and complaining. Oh, it hurts so much. Oh, life isn't fair. Oh, I can't take anymore. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Okay, good. Give yourself 5 minutes, get it out, and then boss up. We literally do not have time to complain, okay? We have a job that we're here to do. That's why we're here, right? We join up in this chat every Friday evening in order to remind each other that, guess what? We might be countries and far distances away from one another, but we all know that we've known each other before. We all feel it. We're of like mind. We're of the same vibration. We're of the same life mission. We're of the same life purpose. We come here, we reconnect. We like to remember what we're doing here. Okay. We like to build each other up. We like to remind each other that we're not alone. That's great. It's what we need, because many of us fall off from this particular live chat until the next one. We have little mental breakdowns. The energy come at us, right? We all have the warnings. We all have the plan. That's why we rely on the astrology. It's literally a guideline to the weather, the energetic space weather that we're going to experience. You know, if I sit here and I say, okay, guys, Tuesday, it is going to be hurricane-like winds, hurricane-like rains. And you have the audacity to wake up and go out on a Tuesday morning without an umbrella, dressed for the sun, and you want to whine and complain about it, you need to take a good look at yourself, because you were unprepared. You had the knowledge, you had the wisdom, you had the forecast, you had the foresight to plan, and you failed to do so. So this is why, like, my tolerance, and I've gotten, hard ass, tough love, kind of vibes before, but let me tell you, my patience for the whining, for the complaining is next to nil. Okay. Everybody is going through trauma. Everybody's going through a tough time. Everybody's going through the Ascension symptoms. And guess what? Everybody signed up for this. So if you need to whine, if you need to complain, give yourself 5 minutes a day to do that. And you know what? Really cry it out, really whine it out, play the poor me, it's not fair, blah, 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 for 5 minutes straight. But you best believe when that 5 minutes is over, you better boss up. You better put those big girl cosmic panties on, and you best understand that you wrote this job, you wrote this script, you are literally self-sabotaging your own plans. Okay, that has got to be the shake up, the wake up, the catalyst that you need in order to remind yourself that you're wasting a lot of time whining and complaining about the circumstances that your higher self wrote for you. Have a dialogue with your higher self. Try to understand through the pain, through the trauma, through the suffering, through the quote unquote punishment that you feel like you're currently getting from the cosmos right now. Try to understand from your higher self that wrote the script what maybe your higher self knew that you don't currently see. Because I'm telling you, it is a divine script. It's a play-by-play. And once you understand that you're the writer, you're the director, you're the producer of this film, you're not going to spend as much time in the poor, woe is me, let's cry it out, let's complain, hanky-panky dialogue that has no place in the script that is trying to get you to your fullest potential. So, I know that was a rant, but it was well needed. Probably going to continue it as we go through this forecast. So thank you for your patience, for your understanding in advance. I did mention that we had 3 major aspects taking place in this week's energy. So Pluto going retrograde, Mercury moving into Gemini, and of course the new moon solar return, or the solar eclipse in Taurus. The notable mentions that I need to talk about. Well, we did talk about Mercury entering its pre-shadow period on the 26th. That is a good indication on what we need to be focused on, what we have to understand. Usually we get a preemptive trailer, if you will, of what Mercury's full retrograde is going to mean for us. And of course, you know, you can consult your birth chart to see where it's going to be taking place, and that will kind of illuminate to you what area of focus in your life is going to be heavily affected by it. But we usually get a little bit of a trailer in the pre-shadow period of what is going to go wrong. Now, typically speaking, Mercury retrograde affects communication. So, you know, your phone will go on the crap, your computer might go on the blitz, sending the wrong emails to the wrong people. Of course, we're not communicating thoroughly at all. Mechanical things tend to break down, car problems, travel arrangements go awry. Same old generic Mercury bull, okay? But here's the thing. This is about revision, re-editing, revisiting things from the past. This is about topics and themes that never got completed. This is about conversations, especially in relationships, because we're still in Taurus energy, that you've been brushing underneath the rug, that likely eclipse season is going to, you know, pull back the rug and open all the closet doors and let all your skeletons and dirty dust piles fall out and be an illumination of what it is that you've gone to great lengths to ignore, and then have the audacity when the universe brings it up and puts it in your face for you to acknowledge what it is that you have to do, that you're going to cry and whine about it. Yeah, that's what we have to pay attention to from the 26th to about the 10th of May. That is the trailer that we are going to get for Mercury's retrograde. And disclaimer, Mercury goes into Gemini, stays into Gemini, goes retrograde, goes back through Gemini, and enters back into Taurus before going direct. So yeah, we're going to have to revisit a couple of things, rebuild a couple of things. Our boundaries, our mental health is going to be definitely tested. And it would just be advisable for you to realize that the whining and the complaining is going to hold up the process of you being able to figure a lot of things out under this eclipse energy, but you got to surrender to it. You got to be a little bit more accountable, right? This is about accountability. We had the opportunity to do it right the first time. We failed to do so. That's why we have retrogrades. We got to go back and revisit it. The other notable mention, Mercury, again, conjuncts with both Neptune and Jupiter. Neptune on the 24th, Jupiter on the 27th. Why is this important? Well, Mercury ruling over our mental plane, bumping into Neptune, which is about dreams, which is about our spirituality, which is about creativity, about soul contracts. There's likely an epiphany coming there, especially emotionally speaking, getting our heart and our head on the same page, understanding that the vision, the dreams that we have for ourselves require us to believe not only within ourselves, but in the universe's plan as well. It is going to be a renewal of perspective, of faith, of belief. We do need that. And then Mercury bumping into Jupiter on the 27th, this is an expansion, okay? This is an enlightenment. This is a spiritual, cosmic understanding. And just keep in mind, we would have gotten our light codes from this meteor shower going on this weekend by now. So this is all like reactivating the light codes coming in and putting us in a different disposition. Now, let me tell you this. We have Venus bumping into the true node on the 25th. Let me tell you, pay attention to divine connections, to emotional situations, connecting to money matters, to the heart space. There is a high probability of new people or new levels of commitment, connection, intimacy within existing relationships, new people coming in of like mind. In order for you to realize, this is almost like the preparatory setting of the stage. The prepping of the chessboard, so to speak. We're about to move into a retrograde and eclipse season, people. This is the universe priming us, putting the right people in the right position across our paths at the divine moment in which we all sign up for in that big cosmic conference room. On the 27th, we have Venus and Neptune conjuncting in Pisces. Now, let me tell you, Venus, she kind of rules our lower, mundane, earthly realm wants, needs, desires. Okay. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. And when Neptune and Venus get together, it is a huge, huge, huge magical manifesting day. They're in Pisces. Okay. This is no joke. Like, we have not had these particular aspects take place for years and years and years. And with all of I think of astrology as a bunch of knobs. Okay. We're talking about a sound system here. We're talking about frequencies. We're talking about radio waves. So, we have the sun knob in Taurus, and we have the moon knob constantly moving throughout all the zodiac signs throughout the month. We have Mercury's knob, now slowing down, lower vibration, lower frequency. We're in the pre-shadow period, but still very much in Tauran energy until it moves into Gemini. We have, Venus locked into Pisces. We have Mars locked into Pisces. We have Jupiter, Neptune locked into Pisces. We have Saturn locked into Aquarius. We have Pluto locked into Capricorn. So every day that there's an aspect changing, these knobs are slightly getting adjusted, changing the vibration and frequency that is not only affecting our physical bodies, because we are energetic beings, we're vibrational beings, we're frequency beings, but it's changing the collective's vibration and frequency too, bringing in different energies for us to work with. And so the fact that Venus and Neptune are coming together in Piscean energy with all the other knobs at their specific degrees in their energy, in their signs, you best believe that this is going to be a highly magical day. Now, does that mean it's going to be a good day? Probably not. Why? Because the dark force energies come out to play to prevent us from vibrating at a frequency that actually brings our manifestations here to Earth. Now, does that mean that we're always losing? No, it means that you're constantly engaging in the spiritual war that has been going on in the cosmos on this Earth plane for eons. Just many of us were not aware of it until the Great Awakening. We have to constantly remember that every single time the universe gives us with an opportunity to level up, that those dark force agendas are going to do what they can to make sure that we do not level up. And I'm telling you, Venus bumping into Neptune is a powerful freaking time. And then on eclipse day, on the 30th, we have Venus and Jupiter. Venus, mind you, the ruler of this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus, the ruler of Taurus season. Venus and Jupiter. Jupiter is about growth and expansion. They're in Pisces energy. This is emotional growth, emotional expansion, understanding karmic contracts and relationships, understanding the want, need, and desire for a belief system that we are deserving, we are worthy of love. Okay, Venus, of course, working on her relationship with herself before we go ahead and start sharing ourselves with other people. This eclipse energy is surrendering to the cosmos. Okay, I didn't have what I thought I had within me in order to make the changes that I should have made on my own free will. Now I guess I gotta sit in the back seat while Jesus has the wheel and, just kind of see how the universe is going to sort me out. That's going to be a big deal. Very huge lesson in surrendering. Pisces energy is all about surrendering, recognizing where things are coming full circle. May I remind you that Pisces is the last sign, the last season that we have to wrap things up in before we move into Aries season. Venus moves into Aries very shortly into May. That is when we initiate a brand new emotional cycle, brand new relationships, brand new self-worth, brand new self-confidence, brand new money matters, brand new goals, brand new dreams, brand new desires. And that's why things are falling apart right now. In order for us to recognize what is most important, what we have a passion for, what we have a desire for, and mostly what it is that we never want to experience again. Because that is the framework that most of us human individuals need to use in order to actually set new intentions. Again, we're not emotionally or consciously intellectual enough to say, oh, okay, I'm in a good space of comfort and safety and security. Let me see what I want to change. Many of us do not do that. We wait until we cannot stand our circumstances in order to even contemplate the changes and transformations that we now need to make. Not because we know what we're moving towards, but mostly we know what we need to create distance from. And from Monday to Wednesday this week, we're going to have a stellium. A stellium is more than 3 planets in the same sign. and a stellium in Pisces. Okay? Now, I want to talk about Pisces energy for a second. And I know I'm going on a rant here. I know I haven't even jumped into the Ascension symptoms. That's okay. We're learning lots. What we want to talk about is the fact that Jupiter and Neptune had their conjunction just last week. Actually, I don't even know if it was last week. Might have been the week before. I have a hard time trying to keep track of time, and I'm not getting up to look at my calendar. So forgive me if I'm wrong. Anyways, that Jupiter and Neptune conjunction was a very magical time. But many of us, because we have been working on ourselves, awakened for quite some time, have the role and responsibility to bear the weight of the unconscious collective. So many of us have been feeling heavy, have been feeling weighted, depressed, in a funk, just don't know what we're going to do with ourselves, not because we're not making progress, but because one of our tasks and chores of the roles and responsibilities that we signed up for to bear the weight, the darkness of the unconscious collective, is to bear the weight of the unconscious collective. That is no joke. That is a heavy, heavy task, a heavy chore. Now, let me just say, thank goodness Jupiter is on the move. He's going to be moving into Aries soon. Thank goodness for that, although that's going to bring a whole different set of life lessons. But this Piscean energy, it's dark, it's heavy for a reason. Piscean energy, as magical as it is, as spiritual as it is, as karmic as it is, as dreamy, creative, imaginative, fantasy-like as it is escapism, is overwhelming by the subtle energies of the universe, is boundless. Therefore, there is no boundaries between our energy and the collective energy. We don't know where we end and other people begin. Like, have you not woken up at least one day over the last couple of weeks and just been to a state of tears? And you're just like, why the hell am I crying? There's no reason for this. Well, I'm telling you, there is a reason for this, because you as a light worker have signed up to a mission, to a task, to hold the light and hold down the grid for the light coming into the earth that will create the new earth, but right now is holding the grid in order for the old paradigm, the old energies to collapse. And that unconscious collective is heavy. It's dark. I'm gonna ask you this. Have you ever looked around recently and thought to yourself, well, damn, like this place is getting darker. Like the horribleness of people is just getting more horrible. Well, let me tell you, that's not just an illusion. The reason why the state of being seems so heavy, seems so dark, seems so chaotic is because we're bringing all of this unconsciousness into consciousness. We have to be aware of the darkness that goes on in Earth plane, in Earth's time from man's doing. We have to bring it into awareness in order for it to see the light. And that is not easy because humans are awful. Okay? Humans are awful. I'm all for self-love, but I'm also for self-awareness in humans because we have been born with both Satan and Jesus' life force in us. Yeah, I hate to tell you, if you don't realize that you have both God and Satan himself in you, then you're going to be very disturbed when I actually get the go-ahead from my guides and actually start ripping the Bible apart. Okay, there 100% is a God, but it is not the God that you've been believed to start worshiping in that Bible. I'm not going to get into this right now because I'm already on a different rant, but let me just tell you, you were born with both energies in you. That's why we have to do the energetic work in order to raise our vibration and frequency to the Christ crystalline consciousness. It has to go through all the vertebrae, all the chakra systems, from your root to the crown in order to activate the 33 discs, the vertebrae in your spine that is Jacob's ladder, in order to activate the pineal gland that is the Christ consciousness that they talk about, that they mislead you, that they allude to in that book that is not real, okay? This is what we're doing. When those dark force energies come out, is the dark force energy that lives within you, trying to pull you back down that ladder, get you away from that Christ consciousness. This is a spiritual battle within you because you are God. Okay, you are God. He made you of the image of himself. You are the same atoms that God created himself in the universe of. You are God. The minute that you start realizing the power that you have within yourself, those dark force agenda energies are going to say, you know what? They're a little bit too far up the ladder of ascension for me. I don't think there's any bringing them back down. Maybe we should leave them alone. Now, it takes a long time to get there, but that's what the ascension process is all about. And let me just say that the Piscean energy, just like all the other zodiacs in the astrology wheel, have good qualities, have bad qualities. The good qualities are what it is that we need to ascend and aspire to. The bad qualities are the dark force agenda shadow element that are in every single one of us. The whole point of ascension is bringing more of your crystalline Christ consciousness DNA online within your body, within your soul, within your spirit, to basically eliminate the two-strand carbon-based DNA that, of course, is what man is made of. So Monday to Wednesday, we have the stellium, the moon, Venus, Mars, Neptune, Jupiter, all in Piscean energy. This is a big deal. It's going to feel very overwhelming, hypersensitive. New psychic abilities are coming online, not only because of the light codes that we're absorbing over this weekend because of the meteor shower, but because we were revived. We were resurrected last weekend, Easter weekend, right? What happened last weekend? Well, the Bible would have us kind of believe that a physical man named Jesus died and then was resurrected only a couple of days later. What I feel that book has missed is that this is an energy that we're talking about, okay? Jesus died for the sins. He allowed the darker force energy to take over. He voluntarily went into the darker realms because you need to know your darkness before you can appreciate your light. And when he was resurrected, renewed, brought back to life, that was his awakening. Now he's so far up the freaking ladder, he's activated all of these chakras, okay, these energy centers, these activators in the DNA. And now he's climbing up the ladder. He has crystalline consciousness. He has Christ consciousness. And that was activated in all of us. We had our death. We had our dark night of the soul. That came with Pisces season. And we came into Aries season, new calendar, new energy, right? The sun, the son of God, the son of the sky, same thing, was definitely coming back to its highest point in order to remind us on that equinox that we are even keel again. The night, the day are even. The dark, the light are even. What we choose to do from those reset moments is up to us. This is why we're in a constant battle, up and down, back and forth. This is why there is a spiritual war going on right now for our consciousness, for our belief system. This is all interconnected. And this week, we are definitely going to feel the battle within those dark force energies, fighting with the life force energies. We've done so much work, seen so much progress in getting to the top level of the ladder in which we are climbing, which we are ascending upon in order to activate all of our DNA strands in order to go crystalline and get away from carbon. This is when we embody all the elements, all of the beauty, all of the glory of God. And I prefer to call God the Galactic Operating Department. Okay? Take a spin on that and see how you feel about that. When you realize that everything is about energy, that it has been materialized and actualized into a quote unquote human story, because humans, for some reason, think that we're at the top of the food chain, that we're the highest intellect going, when really that couldn't be further from the truth. We need to believe that all of these quote unquote prophets and Jesus himself were humans, in order for us to actually believe in something. That is our bad. That is our fault. That is our limited belief system. But you know what? Again, the whole Bible rant, another day. I'm getting close. Every single time I start to even peak on a Bible rant, my guides are like, no, I don't think a lot of people are ready for that. You're going to need to pull the reins back on that. And I'm just busting at the seams. I have so much to say. But again, I don't want to say it. A lot of people ask me why I won't speak on it. I'll tell you right now. Because my goal is to not divide. My goal is to unify. And a lot of people, although are awakened, are working very hard on their spiritual practice, are still very attached to some of their beliefs. And the minute that you rub someone the wrong way, I could have had, you could have been listening to me for the last 12 years and been my BFF. Okay. The minute I say something that rubs you the wrong way, if you are not at the emotional and intellectual point in your healing journey to have an open mind and to still love and accept those that oppose you, you will stop listening to me. And I can't take that chance. Why? Because I need you to be working on your vibration. I need you to understand that we are more unified than we are divided. The last thing that I want to do is start speaking out on concepts that's going to make some of you shut me off for good. Not to say that you won't find someone else to, keep you inspired and to keep you activated and working on your vibration and your frequency. But I have a role to play, and my role is to unify and to help people ascend. And the last thing that I want to do is start talking about the controversial events that, trust me, in my own personal life, I don't shut up about to a very chosen specific few. I would love to share all of that, but that is going to put me in a place and put us in a place where division is likely to happen. And the last thing that I want to do is to create division. I'm here to unify. I'm here to raise the vibration and the frequency of the collective. And sometimes you have to understand that not everybody is to the point where they need to be to accept opposing thoughts, ideas, notions, experiences with an open heart and an open head. And for that reason, I try to drop little seed bombs so that y'all that are on the same wavelength as me, you know what's up. And those that aren't ready for it, they pay no mind. And that's where I'm at. But my patients are running thin too with my guides. So we'll see what happens in the coming of weeks. Okay, so if you've sat with me thus far, we're 52 minutes in, and all I talked about was the astrology. Damn. Okay. So let's talk about the Ascension symptoms, although, we did kind of touch on a lot of the Ascension symptoms as I kind of went through that rant and ramble. So the heaviness, the weighted feeling, that 500 pounds running underwater, that has a lot to do with the adjustment period that we made moving into Taurus energy. I will say that once we get to this new moon eclipse in Taurus, that the energy will lighten up a tad. That's kind of where we get our perspective, our focus on where our energy is needed and where we can correctly exert our physical energy that is going to be worthy and rewarding of our efforts. The weightedness was a direct result of the solar flares coming in, of the activations coming in order for us to loosen up and purge and release some of that cellular trauma that's stuck in our physical bodies. Again, prepping for needing the space for the new light codes to actually have a space to enter into our realm. Now, I want to talk about time for a second. I don't know about y'all, but it seemed like yesterday that I was doing last week's Ascension forecast. I woke up this morning and I was like, damn, that week went by really, really quickly. But also living in the moment, especially feeling heavy and weighted and not being able to get off the couch for a couple of days, seems like time doesn't even move, like time stood still. I want to talk about the fact that we have been experiencing a lot of glitches in the matrix. We have been seeing and will continue to see a lot of the matrix light threads. So crystalline threads in the sky, you might be seeing them green depending on where you're at in the light spectrum of your ocular perceptions, your third eye perceptions as well. But like I was sitting out and literally seeing these glimmering strings coming forth in the sky and seeing birds fly and then disappear right in front of me. This is a huge indication that we have upgraded, that we have jumped timelines, that we have seen a warp in time in the matrix. I also want to talk about looping. Now, I don't know about y'all, but sometimes when I'm heavily weighted and I can't get off the couch, I will drag my ass out to the step if it's nice, and all cozied up in a blanket and sunglasses because, you know, our sensitivities to the information coming in through our senses is hypersensitive and very extreme. But what I've noticed is that if you sit in nature long enough, you will actually realize that you're going through a time loop. I have the same three birds, okay? The same three birds that come to the same tree, that peck at each other, that change each other's, position on said tree, that squawk, that sing the same song, and then leave the same tree at about a 25-minute looping pattern. This is another indication that not only are we living in the Truman Show, but that we have upgraded, and we know that we've upgraded because the looping sequence that many of us have been stuck in because of the falsities and the illusion of this matrix realm, they weren't counting on us waking up to this level of awareness, of enlightenment. They weren't counting on the old paradigm, the old systems and structures of the matrix collapsing as fast, and they weren't expecting as many of us to awaken and to become a little bit more aware of these time systems, of these looping systems. And therefore, they should have actually made like a loop that would span, a couple hours at best. Well, now they're grasping at straws and just taking a 25-minute looping session and just playing that over and over again. So I welcome you to go out and take a good look at nature and to see the patterns, see the cycles, see the looping behaviors of the animals in nature, and recognize that that is merely a simulation and a good indication of how simulated we actually are in this reality. Now, a lot of this has to do with our physical bodies because our physical bodies are used to what we call a circadian rhythm that many of us have been out of whack with for pretty much our entire existence because of technology, because of the 9 to 5, lots of different factors. But our bodies are going through the adjustment period of trying to get back into the rhythm and the law of nature. And this is very hard when your physical body is living in the matrix and your energetic body is living outside of the matrix. It's very hard on the physical form. And because of that, we're having a lot of joint pain, again, leading into the weightedness, the heaviness. We're having a lot of highs and lows. And what I will say is the high is euphoria, peace, love, unity, clarity. The lows are depression, sadness, division, fear, hate, uncertainty. We are going through these highs and lows at a very rapid speed right now because again, they're kind of fiddling with the knobs of the simulation right now. And we're going through some high highs and some low lows in a multiple loop, multiple times a day. And that's why you might feel a little bit cray-cray. We have a lot of hunger sickness going on. What do I mean by hunger sickness? You ever been so hungry that you feel like you're going to throw up? You ever feel so nauseous, but yet you're craving something? That is hunger sickness. And we are in an earth season. Taurus season is earth. We are kind of focused on the earthly pleasures, if you will. And food is definitely, I'm going to say, a peak point of the human experience. And therefore, we just want to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. Now, while that is an indication of needing a better grounding practice, and we are on automatic looping behaviors and cycles. So, to try to want to fill the void with food is a natural crutch for us to want to go to as well. But the sickness is a real thing. You could be starving and sick at the same time, and then you could eat something delicious and only an hour later be stomach sick, and then only an hour later after that be starving again. And you want to pay attention to what it is that you're putting in your body. Again, if you're still eating processed foods, you gotta get better. Okay. You're an energetic being. You need to clean your vessel. Your vessel needs life force energy fuels. The old 3D physical avatar does not need, that system could eat garbage and consume alcohol and, get all cluster F full of bad ingredients and not really suffer the consequences for it. Once you've been awakened, your physical body is like, don't want that no more. And you will suffer the consequences for it. It makes the ascension symptoms that much harder to process if you do not do your due diligence, your responsibility to your physical form that is the temple, is the vessel to your soul self. You are making things harder on yourself. So this is a great time for you to clean up your diet and what it is that you're actually fueling your body with. Now, we talked about dreams. Dreams have been popping off. They've been very, very strange. And a lot of that has to do with the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction that we had as well, still in this Piscean energy that rules over dreams. There's a lot of unconscious processing going on in our dream state. There's a lot of merging of timelines of soul lives happening in our dream state that might make you feel a little bit cray-cray. And that's okay. It's better to process through some of that material in your sleeping state than your waking state, trust me. But we are going to have a little bit of a blip, especially going into retrograde season and eclipse season, where we are going to have flashes of not only our past pain, our past trauma memories in our life here in this realm, but we're also going to have past life memories come flashing back, just doing an absolute shit show in our inner realms. We might even awake with certain sensations like it was real. And you know what? It likely was. But you, again, have to understand that our conscious minds sometimes are not strong enough to process some of the material that stays stuck in our cellular DNA and in our unconscious self. Pay attention to your skin and especially your eyes being itchy. And a lot of this to do, as we've been talking about, when we go through a release, a purge, and we have these old stagnant memories and cellular emotions pop up, the last sign that we feel or see is it coming through skin interruptions or eruptions, I guess I should say. So this can be rash, this can be hives. You might not even have anything visible. You're just itchy as hell. That's okay. They need to rise to the surface. Our skin is our largest organ. And so we do have to kind of understand that when we start having this itchiness, that is the last level to healing. When you have a scab and the scab is healing over, right before, it's no longer a scab and everything is healed, it gets itchy. That's why people are scab pickers, because it gets itchy. You want to pop it off and let that wound stay wide open, mostly because subconsciously you want something to complain about. But again, that's another topic, another theme, another story. The eyes are itchy because our physical realm reality is not okay. And we have a gut reaction, a dream, a vision, a belief going on in our higher realms, in our gut, in our intuition, that we know to be more true than our physical realm circumstances that we're currently seeing. And trust me, our eyes, we need to rub them eyes. It's almost like we cannot even believe what we're seeing at this point. We can't believe what we're seeing in our physical realms. We can't believe the circumstances that are changing. We can't understand it logically and practically, which really gets our ego avatar a little bit frustrated, a little bit scared. I want you to pay attention to the film going on in your mouth. You might feel like your teeth, even after you brush your teeth, that they're wearing little fuzzy sweaters. This film is an indicator of the frequency changes, of the vibrational changes going on in our inner body. The mucus, the saliva, it's all a quote unquote discharge, if you will. And when we release and purge all these old cellular codes in order for the new ones to come in, we have a little bit of an adjustment period to do. And we can feel a little bit funky in our mouth in order for us to make that transition. We talked about the negative dark agenda coming in coming in hot this week, attacking our thoughts, giving us flashbacks. This is also going to have a physical sensation of being dizzy, spaced out, highly confused. Again, may I remind you, confusion is essential for clarity to take place. Lean all the way into it. Okay, don't try to figure it out. Surrender to it. See where it takes you. That's going to be the best way to roll instead of be dragged. There are destined events happening. There are connections taking place this week. Again, setting the stage for eclipse season. This can be good or bad, depending on the way you want to look at it. You have control over your perception, over the way that you think, over the way that you look at things. If you want to look at a situation as bad, then it is going to be bad. You are going to lower your vibration and frequency where that is a horrible, awful thing and not see the good of it, not see where this situation was divinely scripted to push you into something better. It's all your perception. The only thing that you have control over is the way that you think, is what you allow to take place in your inner realms. But pay attention to the weird things, the unexpected things happening, the new people entering, the old people leaving, the opportunities presenting themselves, or the shit shows taking a place, because they're all very indicative on where your path is about to take you. Again, may I remind you, manifesting day is highly probable on the 27th, but that means that the dark force agenda is going to work overtime to block you from being able to raise your vibration and frequency to actually bring some of your dreams, some of your visions to Earth. We have Pluto, again, going retrograde, your root chakra, right? The base of your spine, your butt crack, your sciatic nerve, your hips, everything below the belt is going to feel a little bit achy, a little bit painful. Why? Because the root chakra is trying to drag you down, keep you in your pain memories. Do we want to do that? No, we have to understand where it is that we have to let our light shine, where it is that we have to use these experiences to build ourselves up. Again, you cannot be rocked in your outer realm if your inner realm is stable. But you're going to feel it in your legs. You're going to feel it in your sciatica. You're going to feel it literally like it's a pain in the butt. And the situations coming up could feel like a pain in the butt. We have some root chakra action going on here. We want to understand that the energy is going to be swirling. We are going to have the high pitch frequencies come in. That is going to affect the ears. I want you to pay attention to the sensitivities that you have, especially to lights, especially to sound. Sounds are popping off because we have reached a level, a vibration, a frequency that we can't go back from. Therefore, all the incoming light information, light codes are at a higher vibration and frequency than they've ever been. Many people are saying, oh my goodness, it wasn't like this when I first awakened. Now I feel like I'm starting from scratch again. You are. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about reaching the brand new level of the video game that we can't go back from. The same lessons, the same type of situations, but now we're jacked up on steroids. The whole point of this is to use your wisdom, use your intuition, use your resources that you had to learn the hard way the first time around. Use them, easily access them, bring them out to play so that you can channel through these life lessons with a lot more grace, a lot more ease. The darker is going to get darker. Again, we need to illuminate the darkness in order to turn it into light. But the light is also getting lighter. And you have to understand that we live in a polarized dualistic field. That's why we come to Earth. So if the world to you is getting darker and getting uglier, that is a good sign because it means that the light is winning. Technically speaking, in the cosmos, the light has already won. It takes a very long time to see the results of the cosmic wars that are being fought, to see the results of that being manifested here on Earth. That's why we're going through a shit show right now. The last thing that I want to leave you with, women, I want you to pay attention to your ovaries, to your sexual reproductive organs. There's going to be some pain. There's going to be some cramping. Men, I want you to pay attention to what's going on below the belt. There may even be some quivers. I hesitate to use stabbing pains because y'all are just going to retract your things all up inside you the minute that you think of that feeling. But sexual desire on both masculine and feminine parts are coming to a peak. I want you to be very cautious because this earthly realm has created I don't know what I want to call it yet, but a situation where if you got the jab, you're going to want to pay attention who you actually let into your realm. What I will say, and I'm trying to be as cryptic as I can because Google just sent me a list of keywords that I can't say or else they'll shut me down. So what I will say is, if you are unjab-jabbed, if you're unjabberwockied, you need to be very careful that you are not engaging in sexual relations with somebody who has been jabberwockied, okay? Because there is a high probability that, you know, and conspiracy theorists were 10 for 10 at this point, that this is going to turn into an STI situation, okay? That you can be, you know, organically compromised by someone who that is fully jabberwockied. And so, you know, if anybody is out there as a tech wizard, you all might want to start building dating sites in order for, you know, the unjabberwocky to stay safe and for the fully jabberwocky to stay in their own kind of realm. It's going to be dangerous for a couple of years. This isn't something that's going away, but because the sexual energy is high, is potent, the dark force universal agenda wants that to happen so that our inhibitions will be lowered. We'll just give in. We won't care. We won't think of the consequences. And that, of course, is going to be a very large, long-term detriment to the human race as we know it. So, you love how I just kind of left that for last and tucked that in there and just going to leave you with that. Because like I said, I got to plant the seeds. I'm not here to see the seeds turn into seedlings. Y'all need to do the research on how it is that gardens work in order to actually see those seedlings turn into something that's going to produce fruit. I'm just here to plant the seeds. Anyways, my friends, I want to thank you so much for being here, not only for me, but for yourself. Little over an hour here today. Thank you for sharing your time. Time is not something that we're ever going to get back. I want to appreciate you for spending your time with me, with us, with this community. I want to thank you for sharing your energy, your presence here in this community, because it is very much needed for this particular stage of awakening, for ascension, and for the building of new earth. You know, I got nothing but love. And of course, I'll talk to you soon.